diretta streaming attraverso il canale YouTube ufficiale di Ducati. Intanto Pecco Bagnaia, lo vedete, è fermo al box in attesa di scendere in pista, saluta il pubblico. Prima però naturalmente di entrare nel vivo del nostro commento, lasciatemi introdurre coloro che mi affiancheranno in questa lunga diretta e che sono naturalmente Max Temporali, che in questo momento si trova in pit lane. Buon pomeriggio Max!
Ciao Lorenzo! Ciao a tutti, ci siamo, guarda che bello, c'è un caldo pazzesco, vedo, guardala, tutti che salutano, che meraviglia, questa sì che è una grande festa, qua è più della MotoGP, è più del mondiale Superbike, sono davanti al box Ducati Aruba, c'è Adrian Huertas, hai voglia di scambiare una battuta con me Adrian?
Sì.
Senti, ti piacerebbe salire e correre con i piloti?
Sì, sono un po' che ho voglia di girare, ma dai, dobbiamo aspettare un po', aspettiamo di essere tanti anni qua a Ducati e prossimamente perché no, al prossimo VDV faccio anche io la gara.
Ecco, magari già l'anno prossimo lo vediamo correre in Superbike. Guarda, salutala tutto il pubblico Ducati. Eccolo qui, Adrian Huertas, si chiama il futuro di Ducati. Bravo, in bocca al lupo. C'è una bellissima atmosfera, Lorenzo.
Sì.
E questo, insomma, ci tengo a raccontarlo perché quando esci dalla cabina di commento e metti i piedi in pit lane è veramente tutta un'altra atmosfera.
Un'atmosfera incredibile Max, 31,9 nell'aria e quasi 52 gradi sull'asfalto. Intanto saluto di Marco Bezzecchi per tutto il pubblico Ducati e poi abbiamo naturalmente Eder Watson qua al mio fianco per la parte in inglese. Buon pomeriggio Eder.
Hi Lorenzo, yes, the time has finally come, the moment we've all been waiting for this weekend, the Lenovo Race of Champions, where we're going to see our 15...
It started in 1998. Of course, the dreaded pandemic meant that messed things up for 2020. But we were here in 2022 and we had a crowd of some 80,000 across the event. We're expecting even more when the official figures come in at the end of this 2024 edition. Andrea Iannone, you saw her there just a moment ago in World Superbikes this year, but he won that 2016 Austrian MotoGP for Ducati, and it was a magical win at the time, the first since Casey Stoner 6 years earlier. And Iannone has taken the pole position here today. Fabio Di Gianantonio there will join Iannone on the front row of the grid. Fabio will start third in the VR46 colours. It's the Go 11 bright yellow World Superbike livery, of course, for Iannone, number 29. Between them on the front row is Pecco Bagnaia in his Lenovo factory Ducati red. And then you've got the Marquez brothers. They are competing in this Race of Champions for the first time. Two of the 5 riders who are debutants here, along with Glenn Irwin, who we've already seen, Franco Morbidelli and Andrea Iannone, the pole sitter. What are the Marquez brothers going to do? I don't think they're going to be taking it too easy, are they? Alvaro Bautista has already declared that he's not going to be doing anything silly. What about the Marquez brothers? That is the big question. Mark, the most successful MotoGP race winner in the field here. He's won here 4 times as Marc Marquez in MotoGP and a further 2 podiums, but he was the winner in 2015, 17, 19 and 21. Franco Morbidelli, the former European Superstock 600 champion. He knows Misano like the back of his hand as he gets ready to go out there, and he will line up on the 3rd row of the grid in 9th place in the Prima Pramac Racing colours. Everywhere you look at the moment here on the Adriatic coast of Italy, there are Ducatis. I'm staying in Cattolica, and there was a huge parade of bikes of all sorts, different ages, different models, and it went on and on and on last night. Literally thousands of motorcycles here. Jorge Martin, right up there, of course, just 10 points behind Pecco Bagnaia for leadership of the MotoGP series, ahead of the British Grand Prix, which, can you believe, will mark just the halfway point of the series, even though we're nearly in August. We'll only be halfway through the MotoGP World Championship this year after the British Grand Prix at Silverstone next weekend, and let's see what Jorge Martin can do. He's already twice a winner in the full Grand Prix races so far this season. He won the Portuguese Grand Prix at round 2. He won the French Grand Prix at Le Mans with a further 4 podium finishes, most recently at Assen after his troubles, of course, of the Sachsenring when he didn't finish the German Grand Prix last time out. The pit lane then opening here now at Misano. There's Serafino Fotti on the left-hand side of your screen, former World Superbike and Supersport rider who's now the team principal of the Aruba Ducati team in World Superbikes. And there's the factory scheme of the MotoGP bikes there, and that was Bastianini making his way to the grid on the number 23 machine. The air temperature here is 32 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is 51. It's absolutely unbelievable. I can't describe how hot it is. Greg Haynes here with you. The race itself will start in just under 25 minutes from now at 5:30 local time. And I'm delighted to say that joining us here in the commentary box is the CEO of Ducati, none other than Claudio Domenicali himself. Claudio, good afternoon. What a hot afternoon we have here in Italy. I'm glad I'm in the commentary box and not out on the racetrack, but what an incredible atmosphere.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting. Thank you for having us here, and happy afternoon to everyone connected.
So the event itself then, it started in 1998. This is the 12th edition now. Of course, it stopped for the COVID-19 pandemic. Pecco Bagnaia, we saw there, was the winner here last time out in 2022. But the new bike, Claudio, let's talk about the new bike, because it's at least, isn't it, 1 second quicker than its predecessor. And I guess it's only going to get quicker and quicker.
Yeah, we are all very happy because actually we presented here at WDW the fully new Panigale, which actually is the 7th generation of the sport bike from Ducati. And yes, we presented to the media on Thursday, and actually we made it clear how many changes there were in the bike, and actually that we were able to make a bike easier to ride, but also very, very performing. And an average rider, an amateur, or even a pro, we measured kind of 1 second different with the predecessor, and that's why we have been very happy that yesterday, during the qualifier, really this that are the best rider in the world, were able to reduce exactly by the same amount the performance from the previous qualifying time that we had in the race 2 years ago. That was something like 36.1, and now we are 35.1 or something, 35.0. So the same 1 second. Make a bike different and changing 1 second of performance a lap, it's enormous. So we are very happy.
Yeah, and I was looking at the lap times as well, Claudio, from the long race for the superbikes here last month, and Nicolo Budagi did a 1:33.4. So the new bike, it's a new bike. They're not tailored to each of the riders. It's less than 1.5 seconds. It's absolutely amazing. They do have the slick tires, of course, the dry clutch, the full exhaust, but this is a bike you can actually go and buy in the showroom, and it's almost on World Superbike lap times.
It's not a new bike, it's a road homologated bike, and they are racing with the headlight.
Yes.
And actually, it is a full road homologated with everything. We just change a tire, we just change a brake disc and the exhaust, and we change a caliper. And all of these components can be bought from the standard catalog of parts. And so, yes, I think the engineers of Ducati this time made something really exceptional.
And in terms of the atmosphere here, it's fantastic, isn't it, to have the open paddock. All of the fans are able to get involved, have selfies, autographs with the riders, with you, with all the Ducati personnel. It's a really special opportunity, isn't it, for the public here?
Yeah, it's a big party, and actually there is a lot of friendly atmosphere, and everyone is available, and so you see your hero close by, and actually there is a lot of things you can do, and then there is a party in the night, there is a parade. So it's a big gathering together, 3 days full of passion, and actually you come here for 3 days and you understand what is Ducati, basically.
And Claudio, I see that quite a few of the riders are doing karaoke and singing some songs later. Are you going to be joining in with some of this partying?
Yeah, I try to escape that. We've been a party, but I'm trying to escape the karaoke part. Maybe I succeed.
I think I absolutely agree with you. I know you're going to go in a moment, and we'll see you during the race, of course, down in the garages. I'm going to put you on the spot, Claudio. Who do you think is going to win this race here this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not used to make kind of this forecast. We are happy that they enjoy the race, and we are happy if, all the fun enjoy. And actually, I think, it's something quite unique in the whole world, that you can have the best rider in the world, some of the best rider in the world, but for sure there is a current world champion MotoGP, current world champion Superbike, previous world champions all together with the same bike. It's the dream of many actually passionate people, and we are so glad that we as Ducati we are able to put that together because it's kind of an incredible entertainment. Many people will talk about that, you know, because it's many people want like to see there are discussion what is the level of the rider in Superbike, what is the level of the rider in MotoGP, and actually this is a little bit of a you know, is not a real race because there is very little preparation.
Yeah.
And so all the riders take the bike just the day before, and they do just 2 sessions of 20 minutes. And I was talking with Mark Marquez yesterday. He was saying, if we had the bike for more time, having more possibility to set up suspension and adjust to our weight and our rider style, would have been kind of almost 1 second faster. And so this is kind of, again, very, very impressive.
Yeah, imagine if that's the pace they're achieving already after just 1 day, 2 sessions. Imagine what they're going to be doing in the future years.
So we're really considering and hoping that will be a nice race for everyone and they enjoy it.
Claudio, thank you very much. We'll let you go. I know you'll be down in the garage. Do you know which garage you will be watching the race from? We'll look for you on the TV.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. Make your predictions. Thank you very much,
Thank
Claudio.
you so much.
The
Bye-bye.
Ducati CEO there, Claudio Domenicali, will be looking for him during the race. And I'm sure he's going to keep as cool as he can because it is 50 degrees Celsius track temperature here at Misano. And the air temperature now 31 degrees Celsius, humidity of 58%. Well, I can't wait for this, actually. Who's going to be champion of the champions? As Claudio said, some of them are not taking it, I'm not going to say they're not taking it seriously, but some of them are going to be particularly careful here, not least Alvaro Bautista, I know, who I was talking with earlier on in the day, because, of course, he's got a championship to try and win, has Alvaro Bautista, and he's third in World Superbikes at the moment, and 40 points behind his new teammate, Nicolo Budiga, for second overall. So Alvaro will be particularly careful. I wonder what Bezzecchi will do here. In terms of the starting grid, just to remind you, Andrea Iannone has qualified on pole position, the 34-year-old from Vasto here in Italy. Most of the riders on the grid are Italians. We've got a real mix of Italians, Spaniards, and Glenn Irwin, who is the only UK representative. But 15 riders in total, 10 of them from Italy, 4 of them from Spain. And here then is one of those said Spanish riders. What will Jorge Martin then, number 89, do in his Prima Pramac colours? If you are just joining us, welcome along. This is World Ducati Week 2024, and coming up in just over a quarter of an hour from now, as I look at the clock, which is coming up to 5:15 local time, is the Race of Champions for 2024. Only the third time, actually, that we've had a Race of Champions. The first one was back in 2018, and Michele Pirro, who is on the grid today, took victory. Last time we were here, 2022, and Pecco Bagnaia did the honours with pole position and fastest lap. This is an event that happens every 2 years. The next one will be, therefore, 2026, and that will be a particularly special affair because on the 4th of July 2026, we will celebrate the centenary, the 100-year anniversary for Ducati, now Audi-owned, of course, based at Borgo Panigale, which is approximately, depending on the traffic, 2 hours up the Autostrada, the motorway, from here. And everyone doing their very best to keep cool. This is the former European Superstock 1000 champion, Michael Ruben Rinaldi. He's been walking around most of the day with a sort of T-shirt vest on. Looks a little bit Backstreet Boys, actually, but certainly doesn't now as he gets ready in his Moto Corsa Ducati leathers. He is a World Superbike winner several times with the Go 11 team in the past, and not least here when he had an absolutely excellent weekend with 2 wins and 1 second place on the factory Ducati at the time in World Superbikes. That was 2021. But a difficult season so far for Michael in World Superbikes. His best result was 6th place in the 3rd race of the year at Phillip Island in Australia, way back on the 25th of February. So I think it's fair to say he's got a point to prove. His usual number is 21, but Franco Morbidelli, of course, is 21 here. So Michael Ruben Rinaldi, the only rider in 3 digits. He's added a 1 to the beginning of his number. So 121 is Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Taking the moment because the Race of Champions is just 15 minutes away. Those Lamborghinis have been getting a lot of laps in here as well, but this is the rider on pole position. Former Superbike and Supersport rider with the umbrella there, the team principal of the Go 11 World Superbike team, Dennis Sacchetti, and his man, Andrea Iannone, put in that excellent lap time of a 1:35.0 right at the end of the 25-minute qualifying session here at Misano yesterday. Now, let's just put this into perspective. It's a new bike. It's the 2024 Ducati Panigale V4S. And as you can see for yourself, it's not the only Ducati here this weekend. But the pole time of Iannone, a 1:35.0. It's only 5 seconds off Jorge Martin's pole in MotoGP last year, a 1:30.3. And as I said when Claudio Domenicali was with us just a few minutes ago, Nicolo Buliga's fastest lap in the long Superbike race is not the Superpole race with the softer tyres, but the longer race was a 33.4. So this new bike that they're all racing on today in their individual team colours from World Superbikes, BSB, World Supersport or MotoGP is 1.5 seconds off the World Superbike time that Buliga did, which was the second best time in the race and the fastest for a Ducati on that particular day. Let's see what Gian Antonio does. The rider who, of course, at the moment is with the VR46 crew in MotoGP, but with Gresini last year at the Qatar night race, finally broke his duck, didn't he, and came through to win at Losail. That brilliant ride he had with Frankie Carchedi, of course, as his crew chief at the time, to victory in last year's Qatar Grand Prix. And like I said before, we had some 80,000 people here last year. It certainly feels busier. And when I say last year, I'm talking about the previous World Ducati Week. It's every 2 years. So first time here since 2022. And it feels like half of Italy is here in the paddock. Buliga, we were watching there a moment ago. You can see the headlamps on the front of the bikes, as Claudio was telling us before. Now, what's different in terms of the bike you can buy in the showroom and the bike they'll be racing here today? Well, they do have the Pirelli slick tyres on board, a dry clutch as well. All Ducati race bikes have a dry clutch. It's not constantly covered in oil, so it runs a lot cooler, and a full race exhaust system as well. However, the rest is exactly the same as what you can buy for the road and, of course, for those all-important track days, including the standard electronic suspension. It's a semi-active system, and it works in collaboration with the many, many sensors on the machine and obviously the input from the rider as well, but lots of other changes as well. The seat now longer and wider for greater comfort. And the swing arm has been reduced in lateral stiffness by 37%. But the interesting thing, and the thing that's grabbed everybody's attention, is that they've moved away with this new machine from the standard sole swing arm. It's not a single-sided swing arm. It's a double-sided swing arm now. If we get some shots of the rear of the bike, you'll see that later. Michele Pirro, he was a winner in the first of these races back in 2018. And what a record he's got here at Misano and indeed in this country. Pirro, twice an Italian Superstock national champion, once a Supersport national champion, 6 times Italian Superbike champion. Michele Pirro, including most recently in 2021 and 22, back-to-back. Here's Buliga. He was testing here. He did a day of testing on his Panigale V4R Superbike after the race weekend when he had those 3 second places here last month. And what a glorious season he's having, the former junior Moto3 world champion. Nicolo Buliga is 40 points ahead of Alvaro Bautista at the moment as they try to chase down Toprak Razgatlioglu in World Superbikes. But Buliga's had an absolutely splendid season. A win in his very first race back at Phillip Island in February, and a further 10 podium finishes. Here's Alvaro Bautista alongside Jorge Martin. Now, Alvaro said he's going to take this easy, as he did 2 years ago in 2022, when he had a good little batter with his teammate at the time, Michael Ruben Rinaldi. And sure enough, it's been reflected in his qualifying time. Alvaro's down on the back row of the grid, row 5, with Danilo Petrucci ahead of him and Glenn Irwin behind in the PBM, Paul Bird Motorsport, Ducati livery from British Superbikes. The crowd are expectant of a good race here, and it's going to be decided over just 42 kilometres, 26 miles of racing. It's only a 10-lapper. Blink and you will miss it. Number 23, of course, is Enea Bastianini. Where is he at the moment in the MotoGP standings? Well, he's 4th, and he's only 11 points behind Marc Marquez, trailing the leader, Pecco Bagnaia, by 67 at the moment. 2 second places and 2 thirds. 4 podiums for Bastianini in the season so far. Marc Marquez, if you are just switching on, the race of champions here at Misano in barely 10 minutes' time. And he, along with his brother and Glenn Irwin, Morbidelli and Iannone, who's on pole, and there is your pole sitter, Andrea Iannone. 5 riders taking part in this race for the first time. Iannone, incidentally, has qualified on the front row at a Grand Prix event before. That's when he was 3rd in the 125cc of 2009. We all remember how that one ended up with the infamous last corner collision between Iannone and Pol Espargaro. Incidentally, twice on the podium here in 2011 and 12, Andrea Iannone. But what about Marquez then? 6 MotoGP podiums here, 4 of them victories. Alternate years as well, 2015, 17, 19, and 21. And surely he'll be winning on a Ducati motorcycle sooner rather than later in MotoGP. He's 3rd in the championship at the moment, 56 points in arrears of Bagnaia, 46 behind Martin for 2nd overall. 4 podiums so far then this year for the Ant from Cervera in Catalonia. 3 second places and 1 third. And his most recent second place, of course, was when he shared the podium behind Pecco Bagnaia, but he shared the podium after the Martin drama in the closing stages. Remember, both Marquez brothers got on the podium at the German Grand Prix before the summer break, which will end next weekend with the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Pecco Bagnaia then here racing with his traditional number 63 from Turin in Italy. A good few hours drive from here for the 27-year-old. If history's anything to go by, he may well be winning here today. Certainly my tip for victory is Pecco Bagnaia, and he did do that back in 2022. Alex Marquez, one of the numerous world champions in the field. 20 world titles shared by the riders starting this race here today, and 2 Moto3 world champions. One of them, Jorge Martin, and the other here, Alex Marquez, following that incredible fight he had that year, 10 years ago, 2014 Moto3 world champion. And it was a fight between Jack Miller and Alex Marquez, the eventual winner. In total, though, 8 MotoGP titles here this afternoon, 6 for Marquez, 2 for Bagnaia. 5 Moto2 titles, 2 for Moto3, as I've just said. 2 125 titles as well, shared by the riders in the field. One of them for Marc Marquez, the other for Alvaro Bautista, who, incidentally, Alvaro, at 39, is the oldest rider in the race, and his teammate, the other Aruba Ducati Superbike rider at 24, Nicolo Bulega, is the youngest rider in the race. Bulega, the only Supersport world champion on the grid, and Bautista, the only Superbike world champion, having done the honours for the last 2 seasons, 2022 and 23. There then is Claudio, having just made his way down from our commentary box to the grid. Claudio Domenicali there, the CEO of Ducati. Dennis Sacchetti behind him with the umbrella, and Andrea Iannone, your pole sitter, on the right-hand side. And it was so close at the end of qualifying yesterday. We thought Bagnaia had got the pole, and then in the last seconds, he was pipped by 0.04 of a second, 0.04 in Iannone's favour, with a particularly strong end to the lap here. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep up that sort of pace, though, in the race here this afternoon. Just looking at those sector times, actually, Di Gianantonio fastest in Sector 1 in qualifying, Pecco Bagnaia Sector 2, Bulega Sector 3, and Iannone, as I say here, had that incredible end to the lap with the best final sector to grab that pole position. Who's going to be the most aggressive off the line, though? That's the question on the run down to the Variante del Parco, the park chicane. We have seen trouble there before. It's a tight right-hander in 2nd or 3rd gear on these bikes. And despite these being road-going machines, the top speeds they are achieving are absolutely amazing. 164 miles an hour is registered as the fastest time in terms of speed down through the speed trap yesterday, which is well nigh unbelievable, really. 264 Ks, just shy of 265 Ks. I'm just going to repeat that, 164 miles an hour for this all-new machine. And remember, the riders haven't had the chance to tailor them to themselves, and most of the components on them are standard. Well, the crowd have absolutely loved the event so far. We've had all sorts of things going on. So many champions here, including Carl Fogarty, the 4-time Superbike world champion, Troy Bayliss, the 3-time world Superbike champion, who has a particularly large following here in Italy. I was talking with him earlier on this afternoon. His son, Ollie, who's a Supersport rider, here as well. On standby to race, by the way, is the current Supersport Championship leader, the former Supersport 300 champion, Adrian Huertas. And just in case anyone else was unable to ride, Huertas told me, if I get a chance to ride, I'm absolutely going to be going for it. Well, Huertas, unfortunately for him, on the sidelines. Maybe that's the best thing, though, for everybody else. As Bastianini gets ready, he's right in the middle of the grid here. It's a 15-rider grid. Of course, they line up 3 by 3 down to row 5, and he's absolutely, it couldn't be more central on the grid. He's 8th, right in the middle of the pack, with 2 rows ahead, 2 behind, and he's got Pirro and Morbidelli for company on that 3rd row. Iannone is on the pole. Bagnaia second from Di Gianantonio. Bulega, here he is on row 2 ahead of Marc Marquez. Here he is, 5th on the grid. Less than half a second, would you believe, even though it's just supposed to be a bit of a fun race. Less than half a second covering the top 8 on the grid here. Marc Marquez in 5th position. Marco Bezzecchi, you can just see over to the left-hand side there. It's difficult to avoid it, isn't it? The colour of that bike. And he will start 6th on the grid. Here's Pirro. Traditionally a very good starter in the Italian Championship, and he's probably done more races around this track than anybody else on the grid here, with all of those National Championship races he's done. And don't forget, he is the test rider. He still often makes wildcard appearances in the MotoGP World Championship, and indeed Superbikes as well, for that matter. It'll be interesting one day, actually, to add together the individual number of race starts Pirro has done, both on a national level and World Championship level for MotoGP and for World Superbikes. Andrea Iannone, I think it's fair to say, just looking at all of the riders in the Ducati hospitality unit earlier on, he's the one looking most determined. Look at the look in those eyes. You would not want to mess, would you, with Andrea Iannone. 34 he is now, from Vasto here in Italy, a real celebrity as well. His girlfriend is Elodie, who's a very, very famous Italian pop star, and they just can't get through the paddock here without being absolutely mobbed. But Iannone's certainly known by most people in Italy, even those who don't follow motorcycle racing. They still know who Andrea Iannone is. The warm-up lap will start in less than 2 minutes from now. We'll have 10 laps of racing. And anyone watching here at the circuit, do not go away, because there's all sorts happening later as well. The Saturday night show will be kicking off. The fans will have the opportunity to come out onto the track later. I believe all of the bikes and all of the riders will actually come into Parc Ferme at the end of the race in order to have some photos taken. There's been some brilliant shots, though, if you look at all the social media for Ducati and everybody involved here, of all of the bikes, and it's absolutely superb how they've all been done out in their liveries. And of course, this is all ahead of a very special event next weekend to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the MotoGP World Championship. The World Championship British Grand Prix at Silverstone next weekend will feature retro, historic liveries for all of the Premier Class MotoGP teams. We still don't yet know officially which liveries each of the team have elected for. We've got a good idea, but we don't know for sure. So let's see what happens at Silverstone next weekend. Clutch lever there on the left-hand side, of course, for Jorge Martin. Incidentally, you can see that the front winglets on these bikes now, this is a change to the previous model, are now integrated into the fairing. The bike itself is 2 kilos lighter than its predecessor. I mean, the swing arm alone as well is 2.7 kilos lighter than the old one. As we see how they line up then for this 2024 Lenovo Race of Champions here at World Ducati Week. It's Andrea Iannone in the Go 11 Ducati livery from World Superbikes on the pole, alongside the winner from last time, Pecco Bagnaia, reigning double MotoGP World Champion, Di Gianantonio on the front row. Then it's Bulega, Marc Marquez and Bezzecchi, Pirro, Bastianini, Morbidelli. Jorge Martin will start 10th from Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Alex Marquez. Then it's Petrucci, Bautista and Glenn Owen flying the flag for the UK there. Number 2, the 34-year-old from Carrickfergus, multiple winner already in British Superbikes this season. 6 times, in fact, every time Glenn Owen's finished on the podium in BSB this year, he has actually been on the top step. A double at Snetterton, a sole win on the Grand Prix circuit at Donington Park, and his finest moment so far, the Bank Holiday Monday event at Alton Park, when he did the treble at round 2 of BSB. And their next race will be at Thruxton in August, and Glenn will look to eat into a 19-point lead for his former teammate and the reigning champion over in BSB, Tommy Bridewell, as the warm-up lap now begins. Well, we hardly need a warm-up lap here as the Lamborghini follows them around. Just to repeat those temperatures, I cannot begin to describe to you how hot it is here. You step outside, and if you're in the sun, let alone the shade, but in the sun, your whole body warms up within about 30, 45 seconds. You already feel that you need to go back inside and into the air conditioning. Humidity 60%. We're just a few minutes from the coast here. 31 degrees Celsius, ambient temperature, 50 degrees Celsius, track temperature here at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. There are pictures and memories of Marco, Sitch 58 himself, all around the venue. This great setting here within driving distance of Bologna and the beautiful Florence, just across the Adriatic Sea from Croatia, and near the seaside towns of Pesaro and Cattolica, Riccione, Misano Adriatico itself. As you can see, just, well, it doesn't feel like it's a wind speed of 4Ks. It feels like absolutely nothing we could do with a bit of a breeze here as we look through the heat haze. Now they're coming through the quickest parts of the track at the Cavoni. Of course, it's all used to go the other way around, and then they reversed Misano after the circuit was closed for 6 months in 2006. It was originally designed in 1969, but prior to that, the likes of Phil Reed and Mike Halewood and others used to come here for the road races. Of course, Giacomo Agostini himself as well, because they used to pay tremendous start money for the road races in this part of the world. And all of these fans in what used to be the grandstands for the first few corners, then it got switched round. 23,000, the permanent stands can sit here, and many other stands are put up for the MotoGP weekend in particular. And don't forget, we've got 2 MotoGP races coming up later on this season because of the calendar change and the loss of Kazakhstan. We'll have the San Marino Grand Prix at the start of September, and then 2 weeks later, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix as well. But who's going to be champion of the champions? 10 laps then. World Ducati Week 2024, and the race of champions is go. Look at Buliga, number 11. Terrible start for the pole sitter, Andrea Iannone. Pecco Bagnaia, though, has the advantage. Buliga is sat up by Iannone, and the 2 VR46 riders running wide as well. There's also, it looks like, Jorge Martin going across the runoff area. Marc Marquez side by side with Franco Morbidelli. People rejoining, a bit of a mess of the start there, but it's Pecco Bagnaia leading. It was a bad getaway initially for the pole sitter, Andrea Iannone. Marc Marquez sits up the Pramac bike as they come through Rio Corner on the opening lap. Morbidelli then loses another one there because Michael Ruben Rinaldi's gone through as well, number 121 in the Moto Corsa Ducati livery. Bagnaia leads, then it's Andrea Iannone. Buliga, excellent start for Buliga. Marc Marquez is 4th from Michael Ruben Rinaldi, and more trouble going on as people sort themselves out around La Quercia Corner. This has not been a good start to the race for the Pramac Ducati riders. Jorge Martin it was running wide at La Quercia, and number 89, second in the World Championship at the moment to Pecco Bagnaia, just 10 points behind him. Martini's all the way down to the back of the field now in 15th place. And look how hard Andrea Iannone on the yellow bike here is pushing in 2nd place. This is his opportunity to try and put one over Pecco Bagnaia. Running wide is Marco Bezzecchi. Martin, he's not looking comfortable at all, is he? At the back of the field as he runs wide again there, when he's got it all to do now with 9 laps ahead of us. Hopefully nobody exceeding track limits. Buliga nearly was, out almost onto the green paint on the outside into Misano Corner. But here is Jorge Martin. He started 10th. He was off at the first chicane, and then he was off again at La Quercia halfway around the opening lap, and he completes this first lap, Martin. 5.5 seconds behind his championship rival, Pecco Bagnaia. 15th and last at the moment for Martin. There is the order on the left-hand side of your screen. Buliga now, 3rd place, closing right in on Andrea Iannone as they come through the right-handers at Rio. Don't forget the track temperature is 50 degrees Celsius here this afternoon. And Michael Ruben Rinaldi now, number 121, the 28-year-old from Rimini, the World Superbike race winner, the former European Stock 1000 champion. He's coming into big pressure from his fellow Italian. Look at the bright yellow bike of number 72, Marco Bezzecchi, a fellow Rimini rider, and they nearly touched there as they came out of La Quercia. Rinaldi somehow still holding the position, but there was so nearly contact there between Rinaldi and Bezzecchi as they came out of La Quercia. And look what it's doing, it's backing them into Fabio Di Gianantonio, who's gone through. Di Gianantonio takes his teammate and is up into 6th place. And when I say teammate, I use the expression very loosely indeed, because I don't think we're going to be seeing any tactics in what is very much a non-championship race here with the Race of Champions today. Looks like they've switched back round again. So Bezzecchi's got the verdict as they come out of the Caro hairpin. Look at the lean angle for Andrea Iannone in second place. Here he is. Twice on the podium here in Grand Prix. It was Moto2 when he was third in back-to-back years, 2011 and 12, and he's only 0.2 of a second behind the reigning double MotoGP champion. And up the inside was going the yellow flash of Bezzecchi. Did he get through on Michael Ruben Rinaldi? Yes. Oh, they've both nearly gone through. They're nearly bumping into one another now. Bezzecchi is up into 5th position. De Gian Antonio still in 7th place, and he's now attacking Rinaldi as we get down into the right-hander at Rio, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit here at Misano. They're down to 1st or 2nd gear in that part of the track, about 30 miles an hour on these, what are essentially, don't forget, road-going machines, even though they are on slick tyres from Pirelli. And I'm not sure whether Bagnaia was expecting this coming into the weekend. A real attack going on here from the rider behind him, and it's Andrea Iannone. His family and friends watch on, joined down there by Claudio Domenicali, the Ducati CEO, who was kind enough to pop into the commentary box for a chat before the race started. Fabio De Gian Antonio has just gone through and taken Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Look in the background, the two VR46 riders then now. They were behind the Moto Corsa bike of Rinaldi just a couple of laps ago. Now they're both ahead of him. Franco Morbidelli is still in 8th place. Bastianini is 9th. Pirro is 10th. And Jorge Martin has managed to pass Glenn Irwin and Danilo Petrucci to get up into 13th place after going off twice on the opening lap. There is Jorge Martin. Ahead of him is Alex Marquez, who's attacking the reigning double world superbike champion Alvaro Bautista. Here they come. There's Morbidelli. Behind Morbidelli is Bastianini. Then it's Pirro. There's Bautista, number 1 in World Superbikes, number 19 officially in this race. There's Petrucci. He's effectively, would you believe, riding with one arm at the moment after a terrible, near-fatal motocross crash getting on for 3 months ago now. And the fact Petrucci came through for a good point-scoring effort here at Misano just weeks after that in World Superbikes earlier this year was well-nigh incredible. And then guess what? He was on the podium last weekend at Most. There's Alex Marquez up the inside of Bautista, pushes him wide. Oh, and thank you very much, says Jorge Martin. Alvaro didn't want that. That's exactly why he was going to be cautious here this afternoon. He did not need a Marquez diving up the inside into Rio Corner. So Alex Marquez, former Moto2 and Moto3 world champion, is up into 11th place. Martin's gone through as well, as I say, and he's 12th. Here we go again on replay. Marquez on the left, Bautista. Well, if you didn't know he was there, Alvaro, you certainly do now, as Martin says muchas gracias and follows them through. Back at the front. We're not even at half-race distance yet. Bring it on. 6 laps still to go at the end of this one in the 2024 Race of Champions here at World Ducati Week. Pirro won the race in 2018. We didn't have one in 20 because of the pandemic. Bagnaia won in 2022, and Bagnaia now then, having his best lap of the race so far, he's put in the fastest first sector of anybody in the race so far as we come through to the end of this lap, and look what he's done. He's extended the advantage over Iannone, the pole sitter, to 0.7 of a second. You can see the gaps at the left-hand side of your screen, 0.7 between the top two, and then it's always the gap to the next rider, so 0.3 between Iannone in second place, Buliger in third, and 1.3 seconds back to this man here, number 93, the 8-time world champion, 6 of those titles in the MotoGP Premier Class. It is Marc Marquez, the 31-year-old from Cervera in Spain. Now, is he closing in? You can see the change on this new Panigale V4S with one large central air intake, which differs to the 2 individual air intakes we had on each side of the bike in its previous guise. And Buliger now is putting some real heat on Andrea Iannone for that second place. Martin's progress continues, by the way. Jorge Martin has gone through and taken Alex Marquez, so Jorge fighting his way back through the field. I almost want to suggest he deliberately ran wide on the first lap to keep himself out of chaos, but of course he had a couple of mistakes. He's passed Marquez now though, and Martin, second in the MotoGP World Championship, is up into 11th place in this race. There's Pecco's lead, just shy of 1 second. Down through these right-handers where you are decreasing in speed. This is the Caro hairpin. About 35 miles an hour on these bikes. Quick left-hander now coming up at turn 15. There is the maestro himself, Gigi Deligne, watching on. And I hear in the paddock that Gigi was quite nervous before this race. The last thing he wants is his own Ducati riders running into one another, but all 15 are still running as we get into the 6th of the 10 laps. Half race distance then now here in the Race of Champions. And look at Bagnaia, calmly, serenely pulling away from Andrea Iannone. Having said that, Andrea did submit one of his brilliant last sectors on that last lap and took a couple of tenths out of Bagnaia. So let's keep a close eye on this to see what he can do over the full lap. Bagnaia, 24 times a MotoGP Grand Prix winner. And Marc Marquez is beginning to catch second and third. Iannone on the Go 11 bright yellow bike. Buliga on the Aruba Ducati liveried machine behind him. I'm going to keep a very close eye on the two VR46 guys, as well as Gino Borsoi and Davide Tardozzi. Watch on. Davide, of course, famous not just for his input in the Ducati MotoGP team, but he previously led as team principal the Superbike team as well, with riders such as Troy Corser and Carl Fogarty. And of course, Davide will forever remain in history as the first ever winner of a World Superbike race, and that was Donington Park on Easter Monday in 1988. But did you see Buliga just a moment ago absolutely sideways down through the right-hander of turn 12, the 330, and there's the hairpin at 14. Buliga was a tenth slower than Andrea Iannone last time round, 135.7 versus 135.8. But it certainly looks as though he's beginning to get a little bit impatient now, the youngest rider in this race. Number 11, Nicolo Buliga, reigning Supersport world champion and having a glorious season on his debut in the Superbike class. 40 points ahead of Alvaro Bautista, the reigning double champion, and his teammate. There's Iannone into Rio. Where's the move going to come? Marquez is 1.4 behind them now. Every time I think Mark is closing in, and there is the gap, it just loses a fraction again. Here it is updating after sector 1. 44 thousandths of a second quicker in that first part of the lap is good, but it's not good enough to catch them with only 4 laps remaining in this Race of Champions. What can Buliga do then about Andrea Iannone? Bagnaia's lead is still 0.7 of a second, which it has been now for the last 3 or 4 laps. Into Tramonto corner, the sunset corner, because you're heading west when you get there. Marquez takes another tenth out of them, and it's down to 1.2. However, Iannone is particularly quick in the last half of the lap, and not least the 4th and final sector. Buliga was as spectacular as ever again there, using all of the grip available and then some from the rear slick Pirelli tyre. Iannone is catching Bagnaia. Bagnaia has lost 0.4 of a second there in the 3rd of the 4 sectors. Now, is he just playing the game and giving us a bit of a race? Or is Iannone genuinely catching him? Did Pecco make a mistake somewhere? We'll have 3 laps to go when they cross the line. And of all the people attacking you, you don't want it to be Andrea Iannone. Marquez's pit board goes out. L3, 3 laps remaining here. There's Buliga. Bagnaia still has the fastest lap of the race, but he lost another tenth to Iannone in the final sector. And now it's down to 0.2. Look at Iannone's lap time last time round on the left-hand side of your screen at 135.6. He was 4 tenths quicker on that lap alone than Pecco Bagnaia. Buliga is not out of this either. He's within a second of the leader. There's Marc Marquez coming through the shot, through the left-hander at turn 6 in second gear. And now you accelerate down the back straight at about 145 miles an hour, back down through the box to 55 miles an hour. In probably second gear on these road-going bikes. Number 49 is Fabio Di Gianantonio, the Qatar Grand Prix winner with Gresini. Towards the end of last season, will have just 2 laps remaining when we next cross the line. And now we really are going to find out whether Bagnaia is just giving us a bit of a race here, or whether Iannone is genuinely catching him with 50 degrees Celsius track temperature here. All the Ducati legends, current and previous, are watching on here. There's Franco Morbidelli, former Superstock 600 champion of Europe. Bastianini is catching him, and in the background, Jorge Martin, who went off on the first lap as Morbidelli now goes off. Martin nearly doing the same behind him. So this is the fight for 8th place, Frankie Morbidelli and Enea Bastianini. But look in the background, because Pirro and Martin are absolutely locked together. There's Bastianini 23, there's the number 51 of the 6-time Italian Superbike champion, Michele Pirro, and there then is the rider who so narrowly missed out on the MotoGP World Championship last year. He's still second this year, only 10 points behind Pecco Bagnaia. That's Jorge Martin. He went off twice on the first lap of the race. He's passed Glenn Irwin, Petrucci, Bautista, and Alex Marquez. And his next target now is Michele Pirro. 2 laps remaining, and the gap at the front is 0.6 of a second. There's Rinaldi. Rinaldi, remember, number 121, had a brilliant start to the race from 11th and ran as high as 5th in the opening stages before Bezzecchi and De Gianantonio passed him. Now he's 7th, and this is Buliga giving some heat again to Iannone, and I think Bagnaia was definitely playing with him like a cat with a border string, because now he's extended the lead on the penultimate lap to just over 1 second. So, who's going to get second place? And can Marc Marquez do anything about these two in the closing stages? Because the Ant is now just 0.8 of a second behind Nicolo Buliga. Buliga, who won that 2015 Junior World Championship in Moto3 with one of the most consistent racing seasons you will ever see. 3 poles, 7 podiums, and just 1 win. Right up to the edge of the curb, on braking into the Caro hairpin. And Pecco has gone. Pecco's 1.5 seconds up the road now. There he is, coming through to the 10th and final lap in this race of champions at Misano. But who's going to get this second place? Is it going to be Iannone, who started on a glorious pole position, or will it be Buliga? This is the final lap. There's Bagnaia. The yellow bike is Iannone. Buliga and Marc Marquez backing it down into the park chicane. What a great scrap that is. Is Marquez going to be able to challenge Buliga before Buliga attacks Iannone? Bezzecchi and De Gianantonio there are 5th and 6th. Rinaldi still 7th, defending from Morbidelli and Bastianini. Jorge Martin is now in 10th place. He's got a second, though, between himself and Bastianini to get up into 9th place. Pirro is 11th. Alex Marquez is 12th. Bautista, being careful, thinking about his World Superbike Championship challenge, 13th. Petrucci, still nursing his right arm injury, is 14th. And Glenn Irwin down in 15th position. Half a lap to go. Up the road goes Pecco Bagnaia. But who's going to get that second place? Will it be Iannone? Will it be Buliga? Or will it be Marc Marquez? And now the time between Buliga and Marquez is exactly the same. A second and third. In fact, scrap that, because look at the ground he's made up through Tremonto Corner. Nicolo Buliga and Marc Marquez are about to go head-to-head here on the final lap of the Race of Champions. And Nicolo Buliga, if he wasn't awake already, will certainly be in just a few moments, because right behind him now is the 8-time world champion, Marc Marquez, 59 times a Premier Class Grand Prix winner in MotoGP, 105 times on the podium, 65 times on pole position, and he's desperate to get on the rostrum here. Pecco Bagnaia then into Misano corner at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, and Bagnaia wins the Race of Champions of 2024. And where has Buliga gone? Buliga is down at the last corner of the race. Out goes Nicolo Buliga, who had Marc Marquez right behind him. I wonder what happened there on the 10th and final lap, because the body language tells the tale. And from the gesture there, from number 11, the 24-year-old from Montecineo Emilia, the youngest rider in the race. He did compete here in 2022 on a mixed grid with a V2. And there was contact by the looks of it. Marquez goes through, Buliga goes down. What a shame to see one of these new Panigale V4S bikes smashed into pieces. We need to see another angle of that, because I suspect there may have been contact into that last corner. Nadia Padovani and everybody watching on. Artur Villalta there and Gigi Dell'Inno. I hope Nicolo Buliga's not hurt. He's managing to walk away. He cannot believe that. And the bike has gone all the way up to the barrier. Well, I did say earlier on we've seen drama at the last corner here at Misano when we were talking about Iannone and Polo Spargo back in 2009 in the 125cc class. Is there any damage to Marc Marquez's bike? Or did he just dive at the inside and force Buliga into a mistake? I can't see any damage to what would be the right-hand side of the Marquez machine. There's your winner, though, without any shadow of a doubt. He's done it again. His second consecutive victory then here in the Race of Champions. Pecco Bagnaia. Now look on the right-hand side of the screen. Oh, it's difficult to tell, isn't it? Was there contact or was there not? Buliga there certainly feels it was Marc's fault. Of that, there is no doubt whatsoever, as the marshals welcome everybody back in. They've been very, very busy, the marshals here. There's been a lot of track activity for this event, with all sorts of parades happening out on the circuit. We've had the 999s out there. We've had the 916 as we mark the 30th anniversary of the Ducati 916, incidentally. And of course, these all new V4S Panigales, which are at least 1 second quicker than its predecessor. But Pecco Bagnaia came to Misano for World Ducati Week this year, and the 27-year-old from Turin just gets better and better and better. He's already a twice winner of the MotoGP World Championship, and now by the looks of things, he's going to disengage all of the electronics, all operated via a fantastic new screen on this bike. And anyone who does a track day, you really need to take a look at it. It's a huge screen. You've got sector times on there. It tells you your tyre pressures, your tyre temperatures. There's race mode. There's all sorts of different stuff you can do on these bikes. And this is what we were waiting for. Podium ceremony coming up, and we'll hear from as many of the riders as we possibly can as well. But just again, from me, Greg Haynes, a very special thanks to all of you for tuning in around the world, not least on the Ducati YouTube channel. And you have just seen Pecco Bagnaia winning by, in the end, it's academic really, isn't it? 1.5 seconds. He was 1.4 seconds ahead of Iannone. Marc Marquez then on the podium, but I can't wait to hear what he said down there, because if there wasn't contact between Marquez and Buliga, it was certainly very close. I think there probably was a touch into that last corner, but we've heard chants going on all through the night here on the Adriatic coast of Italy. Pecco, Pecco, Pecco. And the paddock has been absolutely agog with so many supporters of Ducati, not just from Italy, but they've come from all around the world for their chance to meet Pecco Bagnaia. He's been so busy with selfies, autographs, you name it, and he's come through to win, bringing half of the grass back onto the circuit with him there. He started second on the grid. He was picked to pole by 0.04 of a second by Andrea Iannone. And what a quick rise it's been to international stardom for the now 27-year-old from Turin. Started off life in the Italian Championship, the Civ in the 125 class, went up to Moto3, if you remember, with San Carlo, Team Italia. Joined the Sky Racing team. Raced with different manufacturers, of course, over the years. He was Moto2 world champion with the Sky Racing team. That incredible season with 12 podiums and 8 wins back in 2018. Stepped up with Pramac, of course, to MotoGP, and the rest, as they say, is history. Double world champion of the last 2 years. And what about Andrea Iannone? What a star. What a star. And this is going to boost his confidence no end as the World Superbike Championship continues on the weekend of the 10th and the 11th of August, with twilight races starting at 6 o'clock in the evening local time at Portimao. So don't forget to tune in for that one, as Iannone aims for a first World Superbike race win. He's 6th in the championship there at the moment. He's fighting hard with Petrucci for the Independence Championship, which Andrea leads at the moment. Had a couple of podiums, 3rd in his very first World Superbike race. Also qualified on the front row on his debut. 3rd at Most as well in the Czech Republic last weekend, and a sprint pole for him back at Barcelona. And there is Pecco Bagnaia and Gigi Dell'Igna. I think Gigi's very, very relieved as well as happy, because you're okay, Gigi, they've all got to the end just about in one piece. Shame we saw some crash damage at the last corner for Buliga. Can't wait to hear what Marc Marquez has got to say about that. Michele Pirro there on your right. There's Claudio Domenicali, Davide Tarlozzi, and your winner of the 2024 Race of Champions, Pecco Bagnaia. That was a good little scrap there, wasn't it, with Iannone? It all went wrong off the line, didn't it, really, for Andrea? He made a bad start, and it forced Buliga to go around him. As I said before, all of the bikes are in Parc Ferme. The trophy celebration will commence shortly, and the interviews as well. Lorenzo Miniati down there, ready to grab Pecco Bagnaia in just a moment, I am sure. Now, Claudio Domenicali and Marc Marquez, can we hear anything? Look at the sweat pouring off Mark there. No doubt they're chatting about that little incident, shall we call it, at the last corner. Gigi Deligne, and of course Mark, the big story for next year is the fact he'll be joining Pecco Bagnaia as teammates in the Lenovo Ducati squad. So Bagnaia is your winner, and he's with Lorenzo.
Allora Pecco, congratulazioni, un bellissimo regalo di nozze, 2 volte campione della Race of Champions, non è mai successo nella storia del Podium. Complimenti.
Ci siamo divertiti, sono partito bene, ma poi ho provato a spingere subito perché volevo tenermi lontano dai guai, ma Andrea è stato lì fino alla fine. Non capivo molti distacchi che avevo, ma che figata comunque. Più che altro la roba bella è quando finisci, che guardi sulle tribune, vedi casini. È stata la prima volta che ho sentito il casino vero dalla tribuna anche con i tappi, quindi è stato incredibile, bellissimo.
Perfetto, allora grazie mille. Abbiamo sentito le parole di Pecco Bagnaia, siamo vicini forse ad Andrea Iannone. Vediamo se riusciamo a parlare anche con Andrea. Andrea, complimenti, prima Race of Champions, porti a casa una magnifica pole position e anche un secondo posto davvero molto bello.
Beh sì, è stata una gara bella, molto caldo, quindi tutto difficile da gestire per causa delle temperature. E quando sei molto vicino soffri con la pressione davanti e con il motore che va meno, però sono contento. Alla fine davanti a me è arrivato l'ultimo campione del mondo della MotoGP e solo lui, quindi Pecco molto forte, lo sta dimostrando. Quindi complimenti a lui e a tutta la Ducati per il lavoro che stanno facendo.
Perfetto, grazie mille. Allora a te Max.
Many thanks then to Lorenzo Miniati there as he just throws back to the Italian commentators. Bagnaia then thanking the fans primarily for all of their support across the weekend. And we saw Pecco stopping, didn't we, alongside the grandstands towards the end of the lap. And Iannone saying it was just difficult there to manage the race and just make sure he could get through to the end with all of those high temperatures. What about Marc Marquez then? What about that last corner with Buliga?
Marc, complimenti, prima Race of Champions, terzo posto quest'oggi, un bel podio.
Sì dai, abbiamo fatto penso che un bel show per tutti i tifosi. È vero che abbiamo fatto una bella gara e dai, ci abbiamo divertiti. Anche alla fine ci siamo divertiti tutti e penso che è una gran festa per la Ducati. È primo curva anche un po' di casino. Peccato l'ultimo giro perché ho sentito che Buliga cadeva, non lo so se ha avuto contatto o no perché io non ho sentito tanto, ma bene dai, andiamo tutti e due sul podio e adesso oggi andiamo alla festa insieme.
Ok, grazie mille. Allora abbiamo sentito anche Marc, a voi la linea.
Well, there you go. Mark talking about the first corner and, of course, the end of the interview talking about the last corner there on the MotoGP Guru-sponsored Gresini liveried Panigale V4S, the all-new bike, and just saying he's sorry there that Budiga ended up going down in a crash. I think he was saying he didn't actually feel there was any contact. I certainly can't see any damage, look. On our left-hand side, it would be the right for Marc Marquez. Is that a scrape on his right boot there, I wonder? You wouldn't be surprised if there had been a touch. But obviously one camera was following Bagnaia across the line and the other one just captured Budiga flying off into the gravel. You have to feel for Nicolo Budiga, though. He was attacking for second place with Iannone all the way through the race and was third. I said what's going to happen, didn't I, going into that last lap and the last few corners when you got the 8-time world champion, Marc Marquez, who is not shy of a bit of contact at a last corner. Just ask Jorge Lorenzo about that. But it's Bagnaia here who comes through then to win, and he'll be presented with the special trophy in a moment, designed by the Centro Stile Ducati for this very special occasion here. World Ducati Week 2024. And if you like the look of what you've seen here, try and come along for the next one. It's every 2 years. And in 2026, we will be celebrating on the 4th of July, the centenary, the 100th anniversary of Ducati. And then World Ducati Week 26 will just be a few weeks later. So Bagnaia wins by just shy of 1.5 seconds. Iannone, what a ride. Pole and second, and Marquez through at the last corner, a brush with Buliga, who went down. Then it's the two teammates, Bezzecchi and Di Gianantonio for Michael Ruben Rinaldi, who was 5th after a great start. Frankie Morbidelli was 7th from Bastianini. Martin fights his way back up through the field after going off twice on the opening lap. He's 9th in the end from Piro, a former winner. Alex Marquez Bautista was being careful, thinking about his World Superbike Championship. Petrucci nursing the injury to his right arm, being very, very cagey. Glenn Irwin, 14th, and Budiger, as we know, out at the end. Back down to the paddock then.
Siamo qui con l'amministratore delegato. Claudio, il commento finale ti spetta sempre di diritto. Ancora una volta la Race of Champions si conferma il sogno che Ducati regala ai suoi appassionati con un contenuto tecnico ancora più importante, questa nuovissima Panigale 2025.
Sì, è stata una gara fantastica, bellissima, fatta con tempi incredibili, pensando che è una moto con proiettore, una moto di serie, una moto totalmente standard, con le sue carene in plastica, cioè una roba pazzesca. Pecco è Pecco, e quindi è casa sua questa, l'ha dimostrata ancora una volta, voleva vincere. Ha avuto una bella competizione, Andrea è andato fortissimo e Nicolò anche lui, quindi l'unica così dispiacere è questa ultima curva che è andata un po' così, non l'abbiamo visto bene perché dalle immagini non si vede, quindi cerchiamo di portarli sul podio tutti e due. Purtroppo Nicolò in questo momento sta facendo una verifica alla spalla, e quindi vediamo se sarà in tempo per il podio.
Perfetto, allora grazie mille all'amministratore delegato Claudio Domenicali. Allora, noi per quanto riguarda il nostro commento siamo pronti naturalmente a cedere la linea. Ditemi pure dalla cabina se ci sono altri argomenti, altrimenti appunto ringraziamo e poi passiamo al podio che celebrerà i primi 3 protagonisti di questa Race of Champions.
Grazie mille. Thank you to Lorenzo there and Claudio Domenicali, who was more or less just repeating what he said to us here in the commentary earlier on in the show, and thanking primarily the fans and everybody for coming along. And thank you also to our friend at Dorna, Mr. Ruben Fernandez, who's just given me a full transcript of what Marc Marquez said. I don't know if there was contact because I didn't feel it, I didn't notice it, but we will go together to the podium to finish the party together. It'll be interesting to see what Budiger says when we catch up with him later. And talking of the podium party, there's all sorts of karaoke planned for later on in the night. I don't even know if the riders are aware of the fact that they're going to have to be singing, but there's a big list here. Looks like there's going to be a duet of Borale between Bagnaia and Bastianini. We've got, what's Marquez going to be singing? Vinci's Wake Me Up. Well, he definitely woke up Budiger, didn't he, at the last corner? Bautista's going to be doing La Macarena, which is a favourite of his. We've seen him doing that on the paddock shirt World Superbike a few times. I think the most interesting one will be Nicolo Budiger giving us a rendition later on here of Eminem's Lose Yourself. That's going to be very interesting, but there's going to be Beatles, Elton John, ABBA, all sorts of things later on if you're here. So tune in as we get ready then for the podium presentations here at Misano. You've got to love the Italians and Ducati, haven't you? The passion and the emotion is absolutely second to none. And don't forget, we've got 2 Grand Prix here for MotoGP later on
ieri del
in the
VDV
season.
2024 con una splendida parata che ha visto coinvolto migliaia e migliaia di veicoli, e VDV che si concluderà domani. Oggi, dopo la Lenovo Race of Champions, saliranno qui i campioni Marc Marquez, Andrea Iannone, Pecco Bagnaia, e andremo avanti fino a sera. Che dire, non sarò solo su questo palco, perché oltre ad ospitare tutti i campioni del mondo Ducati, con me ci sarà una voce volta a traghettarvi in questa meravigliosa giornata. Chiederei di accogliere con un applauso Gianluca Gazzoli.
Bella Nick.
Bella Gianluca.
Ciao a tutti ragazzi. Hi everybody. This is VDV. Make some noise guys. Un po' di casino ragazzi. Che bello, che festa
Gianluca,
incredibile, Nick.
festa pazzesca. Mi sono permesso di chiamarti un attimo prima perché abbiamo raccontato l'inizio del VDV di ieri con una splendida parata, parata dove tu sei stato tra l'altro in testa, l'hai aperta, sei stato una delle persone che l'ha aperta.
Sono stato un secondo in testa, poi come vedi c'è gente molto più veloce, ma più che altro ieri non era una gara di velocità, anzi è stata una gara, anzi è stato scusate,
una
un
sfilata
momento bellissimo, una sfilata. Personalmente io faccio i complimenti a tutti coloro, non solo che l'hanno organizzata, ma che hanno partecipato. È stata una parata, credo, da record, perché c'è stata veramente un sacco di gente, sia insomma a sfilare con la propria moto e sia insomma per strada, no? Vedere i colori della Ducati, il rosso ovunque, è stata un'emozione grandissima. Quindi fatevi un applauso per essere qui, un applauso alla vostra passione gigante, perché si respira e si sente, e sicuramente sta arrivando anche a tutti coloro che in realtà ci stanno seguendo oggi, magari dallo streaming, dalla televisione, e noi riusciamo a fargli arrivare questa energia.
Mentre attendiamo l'arrivo dei primi 3 classificati, invitiamo tutte le persone sugli spalti a raggiungerci in pista. Ricordiamo a tutti gli amici che la giornata è molto lunga, Gianluca,
molto lunga,
perché avremo un sacco di ospiti a seguito della premiazione, avremo un sacco di interventi musicali, perché questa sera avremo Get Farfargetta,
yes,
Rudy J,
yes,
e soprattutto faremo mettere in gioco i piloti in una veste inedita. In una veste inedita, infatti abbiamo bisogno di tutti voi affinché possiate spronarli a tirare fuori il meglio di loro stessi al di fuori del mondo delle moto.
Accadranno un sacco di cose, non vogliamo spoilerare troppo, come si dice in questi casi. Vi chiediamo di prepararvi già come si dice? La ugola,
preparate
la voce,
le corde vocali, scaldate le ugole, signori, perché questa sera si canta. Inizieremo a scaldarle con il vostro tifo e il vostro incitamento quando saliranno i campioni di questa Lenovo Race of Champions, che ricordiamo terzo classificato Marc Marquez.
Lo svegliamo subito, vabbè, a parte che lo sanno.
Lo sanno, cioè non è che c'è
no, hai ragione, no, perdonami. Andrea Iannone e poi Pecco Bagnaia, insomma, tra poco su questo palco, anzi su questo podio, perché oggi questo podio diventa palco, perché come dicevi anche tu, sarà una grandissima festa. Questo poi è lo spirito principale in qualche modo con la quale stiamo affrontando queste 3 giorni, questo weekend pieno di grande passione. Ci sarà modo di festeggiare letteralmente con tanta musica, una sorpresa anche, restate fino alla fine perché poi anche il cielo parlerà con noi e non voglio
spoilerare,
no
spoiler,
e poi grandi protagonisti, oltre che le moto.
Le moto loro siano sempre lodate, le rosse di Borgo Panigale. Come dicevo prima, ci sono 356 Ducati Official Club sparsi in 66 paesi del mondo. Essendo tu un poliglotta, se vuoi ad esempio abbiamo gente che arriva da Taipei. Abbiamo gente che arriva da Taipei, gente che arriva dalla Germania, dall'Inghilterra, dalle Hawaii. Guarda, vedi? Sì, potete parlare Hawaii. Ci sono anche da Hawaii.
Where are you from Hawaii? Where are you from Hawaii? Make some noise. No, lui non ha la faccia di uno delle Hawaii.
No, non è uno delle Hawaii.
Ma non mi sembra uno di...
Era un po' più in carne, quello delle Hawaii ci sono diventato amico.
Ah, ok, di là c'è qualcuno.
Vengono dalla Francia.
Ah, ok.
Come ti dicevo, 66 paesi sparsi per il mondo per un totale di 44.000 soci. Dove sono i ducatisti presenti quest'oggi? Fatevi sentire. Fatevi sentire, signori. È la vostra festa. Siamo qui a celebrare il simbolo Ducati.
The celebration of Ducati today is a special day for everybody here, for everybody who came from all around the world, and we are ready, maybe, no?
Sei proprio bravo, Gazzoli, sei proprio...
Non so neanche quello che ho detto, ma...
Signori, facciamo un applauso a Gianluca Gazzoli, per cortesia, veramente.
L'applauso, ripeto, è tutto vostro, anzi conservate un po' di casino, un applauso per i piloti che stanno arrivando. Direi che possiamo iniziare. Come siamo messi? La pista... O meglio, l'invasione di poi, che bello è poter invadere la pista adesso con serenità.
Stiamo aspettando gli ultimi arrivati, direi che ci siamo quasi.
Allora, intanto fate un applauso gigante anche a Nicolo Torelli che vi sta facendo compagnia, vi ha fatto compagnia e che tornerà dopo.
Ci vediamo più tardi.
Ci sarà modo di ritornare insieme, ripeto, su questo podio che oggi si trasforma in un palco. Quindi questo è quello che vedono i piloti qui a Misano di solito quando vincono, e quando qua su devo dire che è una vista meravigliosa. La Race of Champions è un po' il clou di questa 3 giorni, è un po' il grande momento, la passione da vivere, la gara e poi tutto quello che succederà anche questa sera. È un momento che per la seconda edizione consecutiva, insomma, prende il nome anche di Lenovo Race of Champions, proprio per insomma, confermare anche questa collaborazione e la vicinanza di Ducati a un partner d'eccezione come Lenovo, no? Insomma, la moto, la tecnologia sono due mondi che si avvicinano sono molto, poi ci sono tantissime altre cose, poi c'è tutto un mondo dietro che è quello di Ducati che si occupa di organizzare, di insomma gestire un qualcosa di così complesso ma di così bello. Quindi io credo che la persona che vi sto per presentare sia molto soddisfatta, ma ci tiene talmente tanto a questo evento che ieri sera, insomma, per chi c'è stato, l'ha vissuto e l'ha vista alla fine della parata, siamo stati tutti e siamo arrivati in quel di Riccione a Samsara, c'è stata una rustida speciale e questa persona che vi sto per presentare era lì, in prima linea, a distribuire le piadine. Io trovo questo qualcosa di eccezionale, sicuramente sono tanti, ovviamente i suoi meriti, sicuramente il pubblico di Ducati e i ducatisti gli vogliono bene. Fate un applauso gigante all'amministratore delegato di Ducati, Claudio Domenicali. Claudio. Che roba. Allora, pelle d'oca, io in questo momento l'ho avuta davvero, non è la prima volta, anche ieri sera, io non oso immaginare cosa puoi provare tu, insomma, vivendo tutto questo insieme ai ducatisti.
No, è bellissimo, è star qua, è un'immagine fantastica. Noi la pensiamo per 2 anni, perché lo facciamo ogni 2 anni, quindi cerchiamo di organizzare una cosa che sia sempre piena di contenuti. Però quando la vivi dal vivo e vedere loro così è bellissimo e quindi siete fantastici.
Guarda, Claudio, io mi metto qui, ti lascio salutare il tuo popolo.
Pensa che
cose da dire ce ne sono.
Sono venuti da oltre 30 paesi nel mondo, more than 30 countries in the world are here represented, più di 200 doc, more than 200 clubs, è un evento fantastico, incredibile, è in qualche modo Gianluca la quintessenza della passione ducatista, perché ci mettiamo a stare tutti insieme, tutti uguali, no? A condividere la pista che in qualche modo per Ducati è così importante, avere i piloti vicini e poterli in qualche modo approcciare in un modo anche molto più friendly rispetto a quello che è una gara normale. Poi le feste, la parata ieri sera tutti, no? Incredibile, quindi bellissimo, dai.
Personalmente è il mio primo VDV ed è veramente qualcosa di eccezionale, insomma sono molto curioso di vedere anche che cosa succederà alla grande festa quando poi anche durante la serata andremo di musica e di un'altra grande passione che è quella, cioè la voglia di divertirsi. Però insomma, Claudio, se abbiamo salutato, abbiamo raccontato un po' anche quelli che sono i valori di Ducati, adesso è il momento della premiazione.
Alla grande.
Io ti richiamo tra pochissimo, se sei disponibile.
Sono
io
qua.
Ti posso richiamare tra poco.
A
Perfetto. E allora fate un altro grande applauso a Claudio Domenicali, amministratore delegato di Ducati, che ci teneva ovviamente a portare il suo saluto in una giornata importante come questa. Però insomma, l'avete visto la differenza nella Race of Champions, nella Lenovo Race of Champions la fanno poi i piloti che scendono lì in pista e non si trattengono, come avete visto la voglia di competere, di vincere c'è sempre ed è quella che porta avanti la grande passione poi di Ducati. E allora adesso è il momento di chiamare il podio. Io sono un po' emozionato, è il primo podio diciamo motociclistico che annuncio, che presento in qualche modo nella mia vita, quindi ho bisogno del vostro supporto e delle vostre urla. Allora un applauso al terzo classificato, third place, Marc Marquez.
Marc Marquez then heading for the podium here. I wouldn't dare to speak over our Italian colleagues. It's got a bit of a Eurovision Song Contest vibe about it, hasn't it? Well done, Marc. One of only 4 riders to win titles in 3 different categories of Grand Prix racing. Up there with Mike Hellwood, Phil Reed and Valentino Rossi. They're going to try and get Budiger on the podium to share that 3rd spot with Marc, but we know that Nicolo's being checked over in the medical centre. His collarbone is fine apparently, but he is complaining of some pain in his shoulder, so let's hope Nicolo Budiger is okay. There's Andrea Iannone, 2nd place for him, from pole position, don't forget.
Passione, ma adesso è il momento, attenzione, del
But here comes your winner, the champion of the Race of Champions for the 2nd event in succession, 2022 and now 2024 as well.
Signore e signori, Francesco Pecco Bagnaia!
The double MotoGP World Champion of 2022 and 23. And the 27-year-old Pecco Bagnaia from Turin has done it again here, in front of all of the top brass from Ducati, all of his main Ducati rivals from across the different championships. And the incredible public, at least 80,000 of them, we believe, has turned up today, and perhaps even more than that.
Adesso è il momento delle premiazioni vere e proprie. Io direi di partire con il terzo posto, perché per ogni posizione abbiamo un premio speciale, una persona speciale che lo consegna, in questo caso il Key Account Manager di Arkapovic, Simon Javoreshka.
And I know 15,000 of you are still with us now, following this ceremony live on the Ducati YouTube page. So hello, everybody. I'm seeing lots of different reactions coming in about the Marquez Buliga incident at the last corner. Some in Mark's favour, some not. So Marc Marquez, ever the headline maker, even in a non-championship race of champions here at Misano this afternoon, where we had track temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius. It was Marc Marquez's first ever race of champions, one of 5 riders in the field competing in this event for the first time, along with his brother, Alex.
Premia il direttore vendite Italia di Lockman.
Iannone back on the Misano podium then for the first time since he was third in Moto2 12 years ago. And he'll be looking to strengthen his World Superbike stats when he gets back to racing next time out at Portimao. Already 3 times on the podium in his debut season in World Superbikes with the Go 11 Ducati squad, run by Dennis Sacchetti. But as for Pecco Bagnaia, what a man, what a rider, what a year. After 9 of the 20 MotoGP events, he's had 7 podiums in the Grand Prix, 6 of which were Grand Prix wins. Qatar at the start of the year, Jerez, Barcelona, Mugello, Assen, and the Sachsenring. He's on a real run with 5 Grand Prix wins from the last 6 events, 6 consecutive podiums from the last 6 events, and 4 successive Grand Prix victories, and he'll be looking to make it 5 in the UK at Silverstone next weekend.
L'abbiamo disegnato noi e quindi è un qualche modo un testimone dell'idea che abbiamo di lavorare sulla bellezza, su tutto quello che ci circonda, e quindi il premio è un premio Ducati al 100%. La festa Ducati non poteva non esserci un premio Ducati, e quindi è molto disegnato, stilizzato, fatto dal nostro centro stile interno.
E questa è una cosa molto bella e dimostra ancora una volta, insomma, il sapore e la passione di cui parlavamo all'inizio per i ducatisti.
Great to see the CEO Claudio Domenicali up there again. He's been with Ducati for a very long time now, including, of course, when as an engineer himself back in 1993 he designed the Ducati Super Mono, 550cc single-cylinder lightweight bike. But Pecco Bagnaia, he's done it again. I think it's fair to say most people expected number 63 on the top of the podium, and it's exactly what's happened here this afternoon.
Sali sul podio, Giorgio, sali pure sul podio.
And later on, the Saturday night show will be underway with the karaoke, with the open-air discos, DJ sets from all sorts of different celebrities, including the former 250cc world champion and multiple World Superbike race winner Marco Melandri with his pink hair. So watch out for him if you're here at Misano later on this evening. As the sun sets, the fireworks will go off.
Ci vuole qualcosa. E allora invito sia le Magnum di Franciacorta ad entrare, ma soprattutto Contadi Castaldi, o meglio,
it is still 32 degrees Celsius ambient temperature here as we come up to 20 minutes past 6 in the evening.
Un applauso alle nostre Magnum che entrano, e soprattutto anche a Matteo che le porta e che ci permette di festeggiare. In questo momento
no doubt Marquez is going to cause carnage with the bubbly in a moment.
E allora è un podio.
2 Italians and a Spaniard then on the rostrum.
Un po' di casino. Oh! Questo è il momento in cui fai così. Fai così.
And so the reigning double MotoGP world champion Francesco Bagnaia came, saw and conquered at World Ducati Week in 2024 by winning the Race of Champions from the splendid Andrea Iannone, back in racing this year after his 4-year ban. The officials and reporters trying to keep out the way. And Marc Marquez, classic Marc Marquez race that, wasn't it? Fighting back through to the podium, a tangle on the last lap with another rider at the very last corner, and he finishes third.
foto finale, ragazzi, con tutto il pubblico, il popolo di Ducati. O prima c'è ancora... Allora, prima la foto col podio completo. Ok, momento di brindisi, momento di foto.
A sky full of stars, a race full of stars. 15 of the top Ducati riders from British Superbikes, World Superbikes and MotoGP have just gone head-to-head here in the Race of Champions of 2024.
Come me per cercare di non lavarsi, ma è inevitabile. D'altronde, quando si è amministratore delegato, bisogna anche prendersi un po' di
You can see how much that means, can't you, to Andrea Iannone?
Abbiamo la foto finale, ragazzi, con tutto il popolo di Ducati.
Real celebrity in Italy, including his victory a few years ago in Dancing with the Stars.
Uno su Instagram, anche a tutti coloro che ci stanno seguendo in TV.
Well, don't forget to keep following the rest of the event on the Ducati social media channels, not least those of the riders and the teams as well. And now, knee sliders, elbow sliders, and goodness knows what else are being thrown into the crowd. They're very difficult to get off though. Look how they're struggling to remove those knee sliders. It's an industrial strength Velcro. You usually need a screwdriver actually to get them off.
Ma chi la vuole? Ah, tutti? Tutti, ok. Ecco quella di Andrea Iannone.
Great to see Bagnaia and Marquez there aiding one another. I wonder how that relationship will flourish as they become teammates in the factory Lenovo Ducati team in MotoGP next year.
Diteci dove metterci, Claudio, mettiamoci tutti qui. Complimenti ancora, congratulazioni a tutti. Questa, ragazzi, sulle braccia, fate casino, anche a tutti coloro che ci stanno seguendo da casa. Eccoli lì. Fatevi un applauso, amici. Ma non è finita la festa, non è finita, anzi.
I think that was Artur Bilauta up there as well, doing his job for social media and for the press releases, with the rider photographs, and of course getting himself on the television in the process.
L'amministratore delegato Calcio Domenicali a taggarvi su Instagram 1-1. Un altro applauso ai nostri piloti, ai piloti Ducati.
It was also great, incidentally, to see on the grid before the race began the different grid girls and guys, all members of the Ducati clubs globally. They were all selected at random in a draw for the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to join the riders down on the grid earlier on this afternoon.
Ok, di nuovo Marc Marquez, Andrea Iannone, ecco Bagnaia, i nostri piloti, il nostro
It just makes you wonder as well how much quicker the bike is going to get. The new 2024 Panigale V4S, the R as well, is expected sooner rather than later, so watch out for that. And that's expected to debut, incidentally, in the Superbike World Championship, the Panigale V4R, the new one, not next year, but the year after, 2026. And that, of course, will be the 100th anniversary of Ducati.
Abbiamo un po' di appuntamenti, un po' di cose da raccontare.
Gianluca, ti chiedo scusa, stavo facendo un paio di foto.
Vai.
Andrea Iannone, carissimo Andrea Iannone, è tornato.
Ma infatti ho detto Nicolò ed è entrato Iannone.
Carissimo amico Andrea, ci vediamo dopo. Bentornato. Signori, che giornata incredibile questo VDV 2024. Facciamo un applauso a Gianluca Gazzoli, per cortesia.
Grazie a voi ragazzi, grazie
Gianluca
davvero.
Gazzoli che sarà con noi tutta la sera. Vi ricordiamo, non andate via perché la giornata è appena iniziata. E a tal proposito le sorprese continueranno all'infinito, e per citarvene una, come potete vedere alla vostra sinistra, sta arrivando la marching band. Marching band là in fondo, che vi allieterà questa prima parte.
Fate esatto, molta attenzione, guardate anche i LED e tutto quanto, perché vi verrà indicato, insomma, vi verranno indicate le istruzioni sul cosa fare. Se seguite la marching band non sbagliate. Adesso è il momento, anzi poi di gestire anche la vostra cena, perché poi ritorneremo qui più tardi. Vi ricordo innanzitutto, prima non l'abbiamo citato, ma perché sarebbe arrivato subito dopo di noi alle 20:15, ci sarà un pre-show davvero speciale, perché di solito su questa pista ci corre, questa sera ci suona. Fate un applauso a Marco Melandri, che sarà con noi tra poco e suonerà e farà un'apertura, un DJ set, un pre-show appunto speciale apposta per noi.
Un
e
sacco
poi
di sorprese,
a seguire
Gianluca.
di nuovo
Un
i piloti
sacco
su
di
questo
sorprese.
palco, di nuovo i piloti su questo palco, chiacchiereremo un po', racconteremo un po' di cose che sono certo che vi faranno piacere, e poi festa grande.
Ducatisti, rimanete qua. Dove siete, Ducatisti?
For the international audience, we will be waiting for you here at 8 o'clock for a special DJ set from Marco Melandri, a special pre-show only for us, only for the Voodoo Voo, and then a big show, a great show together with our pilots, with our music, a big and great DJ set for this Voodoo Voo. Thank you for coming here. See you later. Enjoy the Voodoo Voo and make some noise for you and for your passion. Applauso, ragazzi, divertitevi.
See you later.
Woo!
Well, there we go. That was World Ducati Week 2024 and the Race of Champions. I think that one's going to be talked about long into the night and probably all through the week to the press conference at Silverstone on Thursday with the last corner incident. Pecco Bagnaia then has won the Race of Champions of 2024. Many thanks from everyone here at Ducati and myself, Greg Haynes. We'll see you again for the same scenery in 2026.